Hey everybody, I thought I'd do a video today to kind of show you what I talked about with my other class in class on Wednesday. And I know you're putting together some research questions, but maybe this will reinforce. I wanted you to practice first before I shared the video, so this will reinforce what you've posted and have you continue to think about. How do you fashion a research question, and how can you possibly help your classmates and give them feedback on it? So you're doing research questions related to the career, right? Related to career. And a lot of the careers span business and, the law, criminal justice, healthcare. When you think about research questions, you want to think about questions that are, and if you go into some of your prior reading for the week, that are specific, that are not too broad or vague. So if you said, why do nurses do what they do? I'd say that is a really poor research question, simply because it's what does that mean? What do what exactly? But if you said, questions like, how do nurses manage caregiver fatigue? Then we've got a question that has sort of a specific answer. So what I would always say is avoid the real vague questions and look at more specific questions. We could ask questions of business. We could say, how do credit unions and banks often discriminate against small business owners of color? Maybe play around with the phrasing a little bit, but we know for a fact that that people of color in the United States and minority-owned businesses struggle to get credit at this, and business loans at the same rate that white business owners do. I mean, it's not always overt racism either. It could be inadvertent for some people, but you want to be able to sort of explore those issues. You could say, how do engineers plan buildings around climate change? The questions that relate to our fields that we want to explore. So I have a student paper and the essays for your argumentative paper and the samples that shows how engineering actually does, how they build roads and buildings around this issue of global climate change. So you can see how in different fields there are, you could say, what are the ethical considerations for, and this would be an attorney one, for defending and then this one's like a criminal justice attorney one. So you can see all these different types of research questions that you want to start with. You take some of the words from your research questions, and we'll do two things in this video. We'll go into the library databases and we'll take a quick peek at finding some academic research, because for Monday, I'm going to want you to bring 4 or 5 pieces of text that we can then use to help start building our annotated bibliography. And I'll go over that assignment in detail on Monday. But you want to start with the research questions because they help guide your research. Okay, so we're going to do 2 things. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Google and I'm going to go to do a quick search. In your other reading, vetting authors of secondary sources should really reinforce the work that we do. If we say ethical concerns defending guilty clients, I didn't write an entire sentence. I just wrote some words that I think are related to a search. The first one we come up with is actually really good. It says ethical problems in criminal defense work. This is from Marquette Law School. It's a .edu. That actually looks like a pretty good one. Blog, the American, the blog of the APA, ethical let's see what this one is. APA usually is American Psychological Association. Blog of the APA. But I'm wondering, is this the APA? Hang on a second. All right, but this isn't the APA that you may be familiar with, the one with the formatting of the style. There are multiple groups that that have the acronym APA. This is the American Philosophical Association, and so you'll notice that this is actually a .org. So that's something that we have to contend with as well. So when we're within our class, what we want to do is, and we're doing this research for our argumentative paper, we want to maybe consider some of the points that Van Helsing, who is the writer of this Vetting Authors of Secondary Sources, does when you're doing general research, simply to make sure that the research that you're doing is trustworthy and that you don't have to worry about issues of untrustworthy sources. Let's see, guilty clients. Let's just do one or two more. You'll notice that in this search, when I only added the words guilty clients, you'll see that I came up with the Internet Movie Database, Perry Mason movie series. This is really vague. We've got 43 million hits, but Perry Mason was a TV show that had the case of the guilty clients. And so that wouldn't be an academic source, right? You'll notice now that we now have like a law firms, criminaldefenselawyer.com. Come get your law advice. And that's not the type of content that I think you want for this academic paper. So you'll notice that the more that you search, the more random some of these articles are. And we're searching a topic that doesn't come up with a lot of newspaper reports. So what we want to do now is go into the library databases. So we go library. And let me remind you of what that quick search looks like. When you're in the libraries, you just click on articles, and we'll start with some of the general databases to start. And I'm just going to plug in my data here to log in because I'm logging in from away. So ethical concerns, considerations is fine, law, and then guilty client. Let's just see what comes up. Right? This is a no search, probably ethical considerations, lawyers. So I've made the search smaller and I have 91 hits, right? This is one for dealing with clients who are drug addicts. This is when ethical concerns about if a lawyer has made a mistake defending the indefensible. Here's one. So I am adding this one to my sources. This one looks really good. It's, when was this one published? I want to click on this one. This looks really interesting and absolutely related to that topic. So this one is 2017, so super recent. You can listen to this. You can read the article. It's longer, but remember some of that's references. We talk about ethical advocacy and its limits. We found an academic article right away. That's wonderful. That's related to that topic. So if you're going into criminal justice, you've got to be ethical. The considerations sometimes have to do with, can your clients pay? It's not always about the client being guilty. And if you can't find a lot of sources about this, maybe possibly your topic is a little bit too narrow. And so something we can talk about on Monday is how do we then broaden and broach this out? If we were only using websites, so let's go to the guilty clients one and let's pull up a random, let's see, Theranos. Never heard of that before, what Theranos is. Should you accept gifts from your client? Let's just consider this one. What I want you to practice with this Vetting Authors of Secondary Sources article is to use it. If you find something you think that's pretty trustworthy on Google or through Google, then I want you to use the Van Helsing method to check it. Is the author known to publish in peer-reviewed or scholarly journals? No, because this web link here is not a scholarly journal. It doesn't say the Journal of Issues in Nursing or the Journal of Issues in Law. It doesn't have any of that. Do we even have an author's name? I see no author name. So when we go back to our lesson, is it written with citations? I didn't see any citations. Is it a .gov or .edu? No, it's a .com. So we're moving down and we're not getting very many points so far. Is it hosted by reputable news media? No. Does the author publish it? No, because we don't know who the author is. Do we have a contact email address or a mailing address for this? No, because no author is listed. Okay. So as you go through this, you'll see that based on all of this, I'm not getting, and information doesn't come from a government report. This has 0 positive points. And the author of the blog that I wanted you to read said, I start with a 5, but there's nothing beyond 5 here. If no author name is listed, -4. So now we're at a 1. Okay. It's not on a free website, but they don't use they. Is the writing poorly organized? Now you have to evaluate the writing. It doesn't seem to be that it's poorly written based on the rule of giving points to Google sites and stuff. This article had a 1, so I would not use it. But if it came from the New York Times and the author has been writing investigative articles about the law profession for 20 years, then maybe it's worth considering. So what I wanted you to see in the Slightly Scattered video was how can we come up with some research questions? How can we use them for a Google and library search? And then how can we do a point value based on some Google articles to determine whether this is something we should use for our upcoming research for Essay 3. So what I want you guys to do for Monday is to do some research, grab some academic articles, grab some Google articles, print them out and take notes on them. Bring them with you in addition to the reading for week 10. Bring them with you to class, and then let's see what we can do to work together to come up with, we're going to practice thesis statements. This video has nothing to do with that, but we'll practice thesis statements next Monday, and we'll start to construct ideas for the paper to come. Reach out if you have any questions.